right, Holly. Camp is coming. We're 6 months away. We've got to nail down a theme quickly. But which, let's see. So we have new 5th graders coming in, right?
Yes.
That are in 4th grade right now.
Yes.
Oh, man.
So excited for them, ready for them to get in the youth group and be mature.
Yeah.
I really don't even like young kids. So
yeah,
really
I
glad.
definitely don't envy whoever gets the children's ministry job.
Lord, I don't want that job.
It's funny.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I mean, one of my favorite things about camp, though, is like it's so, it's always there. It never is going to change. It's always the same week.
Yes.
We always have it to look forward to.
Yes.
So
there's no way it's going to get canceled.
Exactly.
Like, everything else is kind of up in the air, but like camp always happens.
It's going to be there 100%.
Yeah. It's like too bad, even if like something terrible happened in the world, like we'd always still have camp. So like that is like something that we can hang our hat on. Camp
for sure.
So,
all right, so let's start just brainstorming, just spitball. Give me some of your best ideas.
Yeah, I think when we worship, we should tell them to be like closer.
Okay.
Like I basically want them spitting on each other when they sing.
Exactly.
Like germs. Like it doesn't matter. Like I want them to be like. All of us have all the same germs, like we share it together.
So
closer
I like that
worship.
idea as a theme is actually closer.
Closer.
Like we need to get closer to Jesus, closer to each other. That's good.
Or maybe we could call it like social bringing together, like socially closer.
Closing the boundaries.
Closing the distance.
Yes. That's good. Closing the distance.
We're both extroverts, Josh, and so I think there are a couple of introverts who don't like having hugs.
Right.
So like we need to sing that song 4 hugs a day, that's the minimum, and like hug each other and greet them with the Holy Spirit kiss on the cheek.
And hallelujah. Give someone a hug.
Give a hug.
Yes, that's good.
Perfect.
I've always wanted to do like a Veggie Tales camp.
Okay.
But I don't know what we could call it. Veggie Tales and camp.
Yeah.
Veggie Tales go to camp.
Veggie Tales
That
go
is
to
a
camp.
great theme.
I've never heard a better theme. I think.
Tales go to camp. It's kind of like those old Ernest movies,
I especially think the older high schoolers who are like super mature will really appreciate that theme and like really feel like they're getting the most out of Veggie Tales because I always think it's too young of an audience for children's ministry, but what do I know?
Yeah. Jeez. Well, I don't know if you knew this or not, Holly, but I've been doing CrossFit for a while now.
I didn't know.
Oh, you didn't know? Well, yeah, but
I was thinking take care of your body.
The word cross is in CrossFit, so we could do some sort of like play on and call it CrossFit. And look, even right here, the T is a cross.
CrossFit for Jesus.
Man,
like fit. Yeah, that's beautiful.
These are
that's a great idea.
We're rolling
that's
in them today.
Idea.
Okay.
I love that.
Let's see, what else you got?
Everybody all together all the time.
Yes.
So like maybe like togetherness, togetherness.
Two.
Do you think that
we can no look, we can do the cool thing.
To gather.
Gather.
We all have crazy hair. We can have troll night at camp and have like crazy hair.
Serious night.
Serious. Yeah, that's perfect.
It's gonna be so good.
Perfect. Do you think you're gonna get Avery to be able to come to camp, or do you think she'll have a different job by now?
No, I have a feeling she's gonna be somewhere else.
Yeah, it's too bad. She's really great.
Yeah.
So I like working with her. So
yeah. Victor is a little
up in the air, but.
Well, at least we have solid interns.
Yes, totally.
They're the best.
They are the best.
It'll be great. Okay, well, I really feel like this is a good way to go. Which of these do you like the most that we can start narrowing down?
I think I think my top 2 are closing the distance and CrossFit.
Closing the distance and CrossFit. I like those. All right.
Those are my top 2. So let's pray about it and think about it and make a plan. Come back tomorrow and
we'll come back tomorrow and see what happens.
Cool. Love it.
Good stuff.
Thank you. I can't wait for camp in June.
It's the Midweek Live Show. Featuring your middle school minister, Avery Huff. Riker Ratliff, Hannah Garza, Caleb Hatchett. Dennis Gartman. And your high school minister, Josh Hardcastle. And now, please welcome your hosts, Josh and Avery.
Hey.
We should start.
Hi.
Sorry, guys. Hey, Avery, you should step on your box.
Yes.
See you. There we go. Everybody can see you now.
It is true, I stand on a box for these videos.
Yeah, so good. Well, hey, welcome to Midweek Live, everybody. We're so glad that you're here. We hope your week is going great. I hope Sunday was a great Sunday for you and for your mom as you celebrated Mother's Day. I had fun celebrating with my mom. Avery, I know that you love to prank your mom.
I do. I make sure to document it every time.
Yeah.
We should actually play those videos.
Can we? Is
Yes,
that okay?
yes.
Okay, awesome. Let's watch these real quick.
Mother's Day! Yeah! Oh my gosh, Avery just
That was really good, Avery.
Sorry, Mindy.
You're so good at pranking your mom. And we didn't want Avery to be the only one that had fun pranking people who she also lived with. So we want to show you some videos of our student ministry team pranking people in their house as well. So watch these two.
Alright guys, my mom is in the bathroom and I'm gonna scare her as she comes out. Okay, just wait for it. I love you.
Vic? The toilet's like smoking. It's like fog.
So good job, everybody. Those are a lot of fun. Tonight, Avery and I are going to start a new series in our devotional time called Kingdom Justice.
We think that it's really important to take a look at stories that we see in the gospel where Jesus is going into the shadows and the corners, where there's outcast people that are unloved and unnoticed, showing them his kingdom and his truth.
Yeah, and before we get to that though, we like to have a lot of fun on our student ministry team, and so we're going to show you one clip, and then we'll head right into Avery and I's conversation about Kingdom Justice. All right, guys, so it's another week of Midweek Live, and we have people from all over joining us. From the Chester's restaurant, we have Caleb. Hey. From Dennis's new home recording studio, it's Dennis. Pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one and indivisible.
One in the
From the other eastern side of Fort Worth, we'll call it East Fort Worth, we have Riker with us.
side.
And then all the way from the west side of Abilene, we have Victor and Avery's in character as Jim as Golden Face from The Office. So thanks for dressing up for us, Avery.
I forgot we were zooming.
All right. Well, we're gonna play a little game, and you guys get to enjoy. Just sit back and watch us make fun of each other. So, Riker, let's go ahead and turn on Quiplash. It's gonna be great. So, we've got some great stuff ahead. Get ready.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Round 1. Write your answers on your device. We have a really long time to do this. It's a good thing I can skip this.
Yeah, we'll see if that happens, Josh.
Yeah. Why is Midweek Live 48 minutes this week?
As a cashier stands,
So good.
Those are both good.
Smart. Come on.
Are you kidding me?
Man.
Oh, wow.
Middle schoolers are going to love that one.
People have spoken.
Sure are.
Caleb Botomus, okay? It's Caleb Botomus. Okay. I voted for Caleb Botomus.
Right.
I do like Caleb Botomus, though, because it makes me seem like a robot.
Sure.
Oh, that was a good one.
you can find in a box of cereal.
Oh my gosh.
I bet it tweezers. Oh.
Josh, you didn't vote for yourself?
No, I would love to have a Josh Hardcastle action figure.
They're very dad-like for this game. He's always fighting for what everyone else isn't.
Yeah.
Sick dad. Oh my god!
Oh. Oh man. That was good.
He's lucky he did it.
Posing as a team set.
He's cool. That's what all the teams are saying, okay?
Ooh. Good one.
Caleb left.
Hey, Chef.
Yeah.
Caleb, it's okay. Come back.
That would got me so good.
Frugal Heathered shirts.
Yeah.
Let's go.
I couldn't think of anything for some reason. Okay, guys, I'm the funniest. We know. Those are both pretty good.
That was good, Riker.
Thank you.
Oh man.
They didn't get it because they didn't watch your show. Oh gosh.
There's just so many.
Such a good show. Wait, one's the before, and one's the
Wow.
after.
That's always me, though. Maybe they go into the Taco Bell.
Imagine school bus going into a toilet and like discovering the plumbing.
Oh, that's so funny.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh.
Harriet Robinson is my boss.
We're like legit going back to Smart now.
I'm Josh with the brain.
Oh gosh. Peppermint? Oh, permanent.
Hey!
Oh, Avery, people just can't imagine a world where Josh has no muscles.
My phone is.
Go plug it in, dude.
No, it's not that. It's I can't vote.
Oh.
You voted 3 times.
I'm aware.
Freak.
Once and then it wouldn't let me vote the other time.
Dang it!
Every yours is dark.
Yeah.
I kept on being stuck. I thought.
So that last was okay. GG, brother.
All right. It is time to start our new series called Kingdom Justice. And we want this to be a time where we can help frame the story, where we can look at the story and see it in a new light, see it in a way that maybe you haven't seen before. The stories that we're going to be looking at, most of us have probably heard these stories growing up, but I think it's important for us to look at the background behind these stories, think through some different, ways to think about how Jesus interacted with people. And that's the whole point behind this series of Kingdom Justice, is that we want to see the heart of Jesus as he goes out into the world to meet the broken and meet the lost in their space. It wasn't just him waiting around for people to come to him, but he went to these people and he went to bring hope to the hopeless. And so the story we're looking at today comes from John chapter 9. And Avery, why don't you go ahead and just recap this story for us.
So John chapter 9 is about Jesus healing the man born blind. And so before he stumbles upon this man, he is in the temple. He's trying to let people know that he is the Son of God, and no one believes him, and everyone's challenging one another, and it's getting a little heated, so much to where people want to stone Jesus. And so he's actually on his way out of a pretty scary moment. And him and his disciples are walking. They come across the man who was born blind, and the disciples are asking Jesus questions. They're saying, was this man blind because his parents did something wrong and this was the punishment? And Jesus decides to show them his great works of healing, and he spits on the ground and gets dirt and saliva, which is kind of gross, and puts it on this man's eyes and tells him to go wash his face. And he comes back and he can see, and this is an incredible miracle. And this creates a lot of questions and conversation within the community, and the neighbors don't necessarily recognize this man because now he's mobile and he can see, and he's no longer a beggar. And so they start asking questions, and the man who was born blind actually did not know Jesus before this, but now he knows that he's this miraculous man that healed him and wants to share about him. And this creates a lot of questions amongst the community that believes, for one, work can't be happening on the Sabbath, and Jesus heals this man on the Sabbath. And so the rest of the chapter is really everyone going through their questions about who this man now is. He was blind, now he can see, and who Jesus is too.
Yeah, so one of the things that helps me see stories in a different way, or put myself in the story, is to cast characters. And so we wanted to spend just a little bit of time casting this scene. We've got the blind man, we have the disciples, and then we have the neighbors and the Jews, and then we won't ever cast Jesus because Jesus is uncastable. But you guys know how much we love The Office, and we know how much we love The Office. And so, whenever I was thinking about the blind man, I'm thinking, okay, this is somebody who nobody else really is wanting to take the time to know. This is somebody that is overlooked and preferred to be off to the side where nobody else can see them. And I just begin to think of Toby a lot. And so, so Toby is somebody that is kind of the same way. Like, Michael loves to hate on him. He is somebody that most of the time they'd rather prefer he wasn't around.
It's kind of accepted as a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, he's tried to be known, and then kind of as the seasons go on, he just kind of mellows out.
Yeah.
Sits in the back of the annex alone.
Off to the side where nobody can see him.
Yes.
You know, back in those times, you know, and even today, beggars are seen as less than other people. And so essentially you have to kind of accept the cards you were dealt. And I see that in this man where, you know, it doesn't say that he recognizes Jesus right away, that it doesn't say he's never heard of Jesus. But also this man comes and spits on the ground that he's never met before and puts dirt on his eyes and says, go wash yourself. And he kind of just accepts, well, maybe I've tried everything else. Let's see if this works. And so I definitely think I see kind of the acceptance of who you are in this character and through Toby. With the disciples, you know, Peter is somebody that is usually kind of the spokesperson for the disciples. He's kind of a kiss up, I guess.
Sure.
And so we went ahead and made the person that asked the question Peter. And the person we thought of for this was Andy.
The Cornell graduate.
Yes. Andy, he is somebody that just loves to be in the spotlight, but also be the one to make the first move whenever there's an opportunity. And then the neighbors, the Jews, these are the people that they obviously didn't take the time to get to know this man, know his name. They recognized him as the beggar, the blind beggar. And then they're having conversations about him, like right in front of him where he can hear them. And so we thought of Michael and Dwight and Kelly and Angela as the neighbors in the story.
Yes.
So now that we have that context, we have Toby, who is the blind man, and Peter, Andy asking the questions about, you know, thinking through, was it this man? Was it something this man did, or was it something his parents did? You know, trying to be the one to throw out the question, and then focusing on the neighbors as well. Michael loves to hate on Toby so much.
For no reason.
For no reason, no. But I think now we need to think through. Avery, give me like the vibes of this.
Okay, well, if you're to read through chapter 9, it's very much it's symbolizing a lot of light and darkness. Not only literally when you're blind can you not see, so everything is dark, and then once you can see, everything's light. I think trying to figure out why this man is blind, and again, in this culture, if someone did something wrong, people thought if they were disabled or broken, it was for what they did. And so that's, I think, a lot of the enemy deceiving people, and that's darkness. And then Jesus coming into the situation, knowing this man, getting down on the ground, touching him, learning about him, and giving him the light. Is Jesus the light? Kind of coming out of that darkness and that shadow that this man's been living in. And so you kind of see the contrast of sin and healing. And once healing happens, and once we experience Jesus, we get to see the light of his truth and his character. And so I see that, and there's still a darkness among Michael, Dwight, Kelly, and Angela for being in disbelief and still being judgmental towards this man. And so yeah, I just think there's a lot of light, darkness, night and day contrast vibes going on.
Yeah, for sure. So let's focus a little bit on the justice side for a second. You know, I think that this man has not been known for a long time. You know, it's crazy. In John, he says his neighbors and those who had formerly seen him begging. And so these are people, you know, your neighbors are the people that see you all the time. They're people that should know you, that you're around them. They've seen this guy probably to the point where they don't think two thoughts whenever they see him or pass him. And so I think there's a lot of opportunities for justice in this story, and also in our lives as well. You know, I think about who are the people that maybe I see on the corner pretty frequently that I just don't think twice about now.
Right.
I think there are people, not just people who are begging, but there are people maybe in schools that we pass all the time. Now, obviously, we're not passing them in the hallways right now. But are there people that we regularly come in contact with that we see as lesser than because they look different, because they act different, maybe they smell different? And so I think it's really interesting at the first verse in chapter 9, it says, as Jesus went along, he saw a man blind. And I think that it wasn't just he saw him out of his peripheral vision. I don't think it was just he saw an object or a person that was in the way, but I think he saw the man completely, not just physically, but he saw him spiritually. And so I think that a prayer for us could be to give us the eyes of Jesus to see people the way that Jesus would see them.
And that's why I think it's cool to look at the character of God being just, is because, again, if we look at before this story and this chapter starts, Jesus is literally fleeing a near-death experience. And I feel like if any of us were in that situation, we'd probably be in a more selfish mindset. But the first thing Jesus does is see this man for who he is, no assumptions, no judgments. He goes and serves him, which is the least selfish thing you could do. And so, like, that is the character of God. Is it doesn't matter what our situation is, what other people's situations are. Everyone has the dignity and the capability to be served and be loved and be seen for beyond their physical appearance and for who God has created them to be, and help one another become the people that we were meant to be.
Yeah, it reminds me a lot of Dry Bones whenever we go to Dry Bones. And one of the things that they talk about and they constantly are repeating is that every single person, every single son and daughter of God has unsurpassable worth. And I think that Jesus gives this man that unsurpassable worth. He sees him in a way that nobody else has seen him before. Or maybe they're choosing to overlook him in a way that Jesus didn't. It's just really a good insight into the heart of Jesus. And for us, as we go into the summer, as we go back into school, hopefully in the fall, to be able to just be on the lookout to see people the way that Jesus sees other people in his world.
And I think that's a challenging thing to do. I think, again, we are all sinners, and we've all grown up with maybe judgments or assumptions on maybe people we pass in the halls or people we're seeing on the street, and that is blindness in our own life. And I actually think of Sermon on the Mount when Jesus says, take the speck out of your own eye before you judge the other in someone else's eye, is like, where am I being blind in my life when I'm not seeing people and seeing the world through the lens of Jesus? This man himself was blind. And so I think it's important to look at our own blindness and look at the light and how truth can apply to allow us to see the world through a good lens in order to then do. Kind of like what we talked about on Sunday, knowing and doing. We have to know our own worth and who we are meant to be and how we're meant to see people in order to go and see people and know them and serve them and love them, and then be able to do the same for us.
A lot of us see ourselves watching this scene, not necessarily being a part of the scene. Whereas I wonder what it would look like if we put ourselves in the shoes of the blind man, saying, yes, I'm the one who's blind that needs to be healed. It needs to change. And so, just being able to see humanity from a different light, I think gives us opportunities to see the rest of humanity, see the world, see the people that God has placed in front of us. In a way that maybe we haven't seen them before.
Which I think is the just thing to do. As kingdom builders and world changers, is kingdom justice is taking that posture and learning and being a part of changing and becoming better. And I think also what's cool about Jesus is he is kind of controversial in that sense. Even just taking dirt and putting it on someone's eyes was probably really disrespectful to do.
And kind of nasty.
Yes, and just gross and unhygienic.
Talk about coronavirus.
Right. Or just pink eye or something. But I think Jesus wants us to see the way he heals people and the way he sees people is different from then what the world thinks is the way we should see and heal people. And it doesn't have to be this hard, complicated, intense, detailed solution. Like just even picking up dirt and rubbing it on someone's eyes he was showing the most incapable thing. No one thought dirt could change someone's sight. Can be adequate enough and capable if you're having the faith in Jesus. Even just putting one foot forward is going to be enough. If Jesus sees you're being faithful, I think he can change our hearts and help our blindness go away to see.
Yeah, and I do think the dirt part is interesting because, you know, back in Genesis, we were formed from dust. We were formed from dirt. And so for Jesus to pick up dirt, to almost restore the man back to our original humanity, is just kind of an interesting thing to think about, that's the method that Jesus chose to heal this man's sight. And I think just to kind of wrap all this up, I think it's important for us to look at the fact that this man probably went through a really hard life. He had to beg to survive. And so what I love about this story is that when he went and washed himself, he was healed, and now he had the opportunity to share with everyone, with his neighbors, the people who thought they knew him. They probably knew him as the blind beggar. He now has the opportunity to say, no, that was my old life, but because of Jesus, here's my new life. And I think that's kind of going back to the idea of talking about our own spiritual blindness. We all have brokenness within us. We have things that we've gone through. But because of Jesus, we can use our trials and turn them into testimonies. We can use the difficulties, the hard things that we've gone through, and use them as a way to point other people to Jesus. And we see that in the story of this man where his identity for so long was someone who begged and someone who couldn't see. But now, because of Jesus, he can take his old identity and basically throw it away because that's no longer a part of who he is. And now he has this new life because of Christ. And I think that's the posture that we need to take when our trials are turned into testimonies, is to say, okay, Jesus, I give you this testimony that I have. Use it however you need to. God, put me in situations where I can use my testimony, where I can use even my trials as a testimony to point to the good things that you've done.
Right. Yeah. And I think that's the key, is it's because of Jesus, because of Jesus, because of Jesus. This blind man didn't do anything. He didn't even come to Jesus. Jesus came to him. And so I think it's important, like, this healing and this life change comes from a lot of faith in Jesus, meeting us and knowing it's because of Jesus' character and what he did on the cross before it's any of our own effort, our own, earning. It was earned on the cross. And so really all we can do for Jesus is believe and get to know him in order to have that posture that this is all for the kingdom.
Yeah,
for his
for
glory.
sure. And I think just the last thing I want to say is, as we start to talk more about justice in our world, I think it's important to think about the fact that we can't change the world until we change ourselves. And it takes self-reflection and being able to ask other people and say, hey, where do you think my blind spots are? Where do you think the spiritual blindness that I have that's inside of me that I need to do the work on my own heart before we go out into the world and fight for the hopeless, fight for the broken, and do it all with the heart of Jesus. One of our favorite parts of Midweek Live is whenever we get a chance to spotlight one of our students, and we've had some great ones so far.
And this week we are going to be spotlighting Riley Robinson. She has been spending her time in quarantine creating a bunch of Lego sets of really cool cities. So we want you to see her collection. Check it out.
During quarantine, I've been doing these Lego sets of cities, and I've always done Legos with my dad since I was little, and these are the Lego sets I've been getting into lately. This is New York City with the Statue of Liberty, the Empire State Building, and the One World Trade Center. This is Las Vegas with the Stratosphere Las Vegas. This is San Francisco with the Golden Gate Bridge and Alcatraz. This is Paris with the Eiffel Tower and the Louvre. This is Sydney with the Sydney Opera House. And this is London with the London Eye and the Big Ben Tower. And right now I'm working on Dubai with one of the tallest towers in the world. This is my mom's Pez collection. She has been collecting Pez since she was a sophomore in college. There are about 800 Pez in all.
Thank you, Riley, for submitting that video of your Lego sets. You are so cool. That is all the time that we have for tonight with Midweek Live. Thank you so much for tuning in. But before you go, just a couple of announcements. One, make sure you're tuning in on Sundays to Big Church at 10 a.m. and Student Ministry at 4 p.m. You can find those on our YouTube channel and Facebook page. And second, we just want to let y'all know that there was a video sent out about camp, and sadly we will not be having camp at Akiva this year, but get excited because Tuesday we will be coming out with our camp theme and hopefully with more details about possibly having camp at Southern Hills this summer. So be excited for that. We hope to see you next week, and we hope you're staying safe and healthy.